Hi, everyone. I'm Ryan Ballingy. Welcome into the 19th Hole Golf Show. It's good to have you here with us. It's been a long time since I've done this show. In fact, it's been about a year since I've done a podcast and been doing a lot of work over the last year in various places. And I've finally come back to my roots at golfnewsnet.com. We've changed the URL just in case those of you who are just catching up with us. We are no longer the golfnewsnet.com. We're golfnewsnet.com, which I'm very excited about. We've been the golfnewsnet.com for about a decade now, and it's been our identity to have a weird URL that people don't always remember that it's thegolfnewsnet.com. And we've eliminated an article and made it a little bit easier to make it golfnewsnet.com. So we hope you'll come check us out at the site. And we thank you for all your support. We have an interesting program, I think, because there's a lot to talk about in the world of golf. And we'll try to keep this to about a 15 to 20 minute podcast once a week. Of course, we'll try to bring in guests like we always have and have them be a part of the conversation with you. And we always want to hear your feedback. So you can follow us on Twitter at Golf Newsnet. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/golfnewsnet, or you can find us, of course, on our website, golfnewsnet.com. Obviously, the big talking point of the last couple of weeks, because the new PGA Tour wraparound schedule hasn't captivated the attention of a lot of people, is the ongoing spat between Brandel Chamblee and Tiger Woods. Chamblee, a couple weeks ago, wrote in a piece for golf.com that he gave Tiger Woods an F for the season, suggesting that Woods was cavalier with the rules of golf, which wasn't all that strange of an accusation, and then went on to relay an anecdote from his fourth grade class where his teacher realized that Chamblee had cheated on a test, marked 100, and then wrote a quote from a poem that no fourth grade teacher would ever write on a test, and then crossed out that 100 and put an F, and essentially insinuated Tiger Woods is a cheater because of the three high-profile rules incidents in 2013 that resulted in two-stroke penalties, the one at Abu Dhabi where he took improper relief after getting bad advice from Martin Keimer, the improper drop at the Masters after his third shot caromed off the flagstick in the second round at the 15th hole, where he basically admitted on ESPN his ignorance of the rules and suggesting the way that he took the drop. And then there was the two-stroke penalty at the BMW Championship during the FedEx Cup playoffs back in September, where he said that his ball had oscillated when he was trying to clear some brush around it in the second round, and some freelance cameramen from the PGA Tour's entertainment company caught footage of Woods' ball moving. They zoomed in on the ball as he was clearing brush around it. It clearly moved in terms of the HD camera, although obviously that wasn't shot from Woods' vantage point looking over top of the ball, clearing brush away from it. And ultimately, all those led to two-stroke penalties. Then there was an incident at the Players' Championship where, in the final round, Woods was playing with Casey Wittenberg. He was on the 14th hole, hit a snap hook tee shot into the water hazard onto the left. And he did the wrong thing as a player. When you hit a bad tee shot, you're supposed to follow it and look at it for where it crosses the margin of a hazard, particularly one that's a red stake hazard. And Woods looked down, and I think that was a wrong thing to do, and I think he probably knew that afterward. But he had to rely on caddy Joe LaCava, Wittenberg, and Wittenberg's caddy to determine and agree to where Woods should drop his ball for a third shot. Ultimately made double bogey on the hole, and he won the golf tournament partially in thanks to Sergio Garcia playing the final two holes, the 71st and 72nd holes at TPC Sawgrass, in 6 over par, which was really the big difference in the tournament. And so Chamblee stood by his remarks a couple of days after they were released, which was a Friday, or a Thursday into a Friday. And then later that day, after he stood by remarks to the Associated Press, he went to Twitter and sent 4 tweets saying he was sorry for the incited discourse, that he apologized to Tiger, and that he wasn't being forced to apologize by either golf.com, for whom he wrote this piece, or Golf Channel, which employs Brandel Chamblee as their star analyst. And that was kind of the end of it. I mean, Chamblee hasn't appeared on Golf Channel since then. He has written a piece, or at least contributed to a piece for golf.com related to having a draft for golf akin to what you might see in the NFL or Major League Baseball, which is a perfectly innocuous piece. And then today, well, I should say, let's step back a bit. On Monday, Tiger Woods weighs in. He's asked by Barney McGuire, who's reporting for the Associated Press, to comment on what Chamblee said. And he said that he was moving forward and that it was up to Golf Channel as to what they would do next. basically insinuating that they were going to apply some pressure. Woods and agent Mark Steinberg, who originally responded to the piece by threatening legal action against Chamblee, that they were going to try to apply some pressure on Golf Channel to discipline Chamblee in some way or humble him in some way, whatever that is. Here's the quote from Woods. All I'm going to say is that I know I am going forward, but then I don't know what the Golf Channel is going to do or not, but that's up to them. The whole issue has been very disappointing as he really didn't apologize and he sort of reignited the whole situation. So the ball really is in the court of the Golf Channel and what they are prepared to do. Well, there are only so many things Golf Channel can do here, and one of them would be to do nothing and to simply let this issue run its course, Chamblee say nothing, and we move on, which is probably what should happen. He's already apologized publicly. This should be the end of everything. The other options really are for Golf Channel to somehow force a heavy-handed apology from Chamblee on air to Woods, which, again, I think is unnecessary since Chamblee has already apologized to Woods for his commentary and his insinuation that Woods is a cheater. Or I guess Golf Channel could take the unprecedented step of firing the guy. And I don't think that's going to happen, nor should it happen, and it doesn't make any sense for it to happen. So, okay, fine. Here's our attempt to apply pressure from Tiger. And then Rory McIlroy, who beat Tiger Woods in an 18-hole exhibition in China on Monday, steps in on Tuesday at a promotional event in China because he's playing the WGC HSBC Champions. He weighs in and says, quote, I say Brandel was completely wrong, and I don't expect he has the authority to say anything bad about Tiger. People wouldn't know who Brandel Chamblee was if it wasn't for Tiger Woods, so I am completely against what he said, and I think he should be dealt with in the right way. End quote from McIlroy. Again, what's this right way? Is this some kind of cryptic insinuation? Some not, more cryptic really than what Chamblee had insinuated that Woods was a cheater. That there's some right path that has to be dealt with here to placate Woods, Steinberg, and McIlroy at a minimum, and whatever number of players support Tiger in this more or less one-sided spat. And I think this is a really important decision for Golf Channel to make because Chamblee should not resign. He should not apologize anymore. Anything that comes as a result of all this is going to be from Golf Channel. And I think it's pretty transparent if that's the case, that that's who authorized all of this or forced it. And Golf Channel has to make a tough decision. I know I worked for them in the past, and I say this as somebody who's trying to look at this from a completely objective perspective. Their integrity is at stake, more so than Chamblee's in all of this, in my opinion. Because if it becomes clear that Chamblee is either disciplined, forced to apologize, or let go because of something he wrote at a different media outlet about Tiger Woods, and they respond to Team Tiger's protestations with this kind of disciplinary action, then they don't look like the most objective of golf networks. They don't look like an objective network since they're really the only golf network. And so I don't think that they can do really anything. I mean, of course, Tiger can respond by not stepping aside during PGA Tour coverage and doing an interview with Golf Channel, but the PGA Tour is going to ask him to do those interviews on air while they're on air because he is a PGA Tour player, and the PGA Tour gets darn good money from the likes of Golf Channel and the NBC Sports Group to broadcast the PGA Tour. So it's not like he's going to just stop talking altogether to Golf Channel. And it's not as though Tiger Woods was giving some kind of weekly exclusive to Tim Rosafort or anybody over at Golf Channel. He rarely appears on their air, even when they had friend Ahmad Rashad working at Morning Drive, which was probably the intent of that hire, to form some kind of friendship with Woods and might benefit the network a little bit. Obviously, that didn't work out so hot. He's over at Back Night Network now, doing some kind of thing, which I don't know. But the end result of all this is that Woods' relationship with Golf Channel is probably strained for some time to come, even though they employ his good friend and former teammate at Stanford, Nota B'Gaye III, even though they employed his friend Ahmad Rashad, even though they employ his friend Kelly Tillman. And so the end result for Golf Channel is they're left to act. But in my opinion, you're going to term it leverage. They have it, right? Because they still have the rights to broadcast the PGA Tour. Whether or not Tiger talks to them or not, that's really irrelevant because the guy hardly ever makes news when he talks, except when he apparently responds to Brandel Chamblee or haters and their comments. And he's still going to be shown on their air. He's still going to play golf on their air. And so there's really not that much to be gained from Golf Channel going out of their way to respond to Team Tiger. I just don't see the value add there for them. I don't see the value lost if Tiger decides to do whatever he does to avoid Golf Channel or punish them for what one guy wrote on some other media outlet's website. I think the Golf Channel has to decide for themselves that they are a media outlet, that they cannot be pressured, even if it's by the world's greatest player and the greatest player that probably has ever played this game, and that they move on. And if Woods and Steinberg want to stomp their feet and whine and shout, then that's fine. They look bad in the process because they've decided that they're going to continue to make a stink about it. They're not going to back down from their position, obviously. Not all of a sudden are they going to say, well, we just forgive Brandel, because then that makes them look like they're absolving the guy, and they don't want to give that impression. And so Brandel has already backed down a little bit, and I think that's as far close to the middle as he needs to get. And Tiger hasn't come anywhere near the middle, and I don't think he's going to come anywhere near the middle anytime soon unless there's some kind of turn of backlash. And I think having McIlroy speak out, whether or not that was agreed to by the two ahead of time or what, I think that's an attempt to try to help Woods' case and rally the public around this notion that there is a quote-unquote way forward, and that includes a life without Brandel Chamblee, at least temporarily, if not permanently. I don't think that a heavy-handed tactic is the kind of thing that a world number one should be doing, because he is subject to criticism like this all the time. All the time. Now, it may not be from somebody like Brandel Chamblee, and maybe from somebody like me who he doesn't give a crap about, but there are plenty of people in the world who think he is a cheat. There are plenty of people in the world who think he has taken performance-enhancing drugs, who has a reprehensible personal character, and has a lot of things wrong with him, not just on the golf course. And so for him to single out one guy in particular who just happens to talk louder than everybody else because he has an enormous bullhorn that is the Golf Channel from which to do it, just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. The guy's going to take criticism for the rest of his life, whether or not he ever passes Jack Nicklaus, as to whether or not he's the best player who ever lived. Be prepared for that discussion. I think that's the only thing that he can really do, is to just kind of take it. And I understand that position is really difficult for a lot of people. It's difficult for almost everybody to simply sit back and say, I don't care, F you. I don't care what you think of me. History will judge me. Well, history is made by the winners. History is made by people who get to talk about history. And Woods is not going to be one of those people, because frankly he's shown to this point that he's not talking a lot about his career, and I don't know that he's going to suddenly transform into Jack Nicklaus after his career's over, or his playing days are over. So it's going to be up to other people to tell his story. And those people will decide what kind of guy he's seen as. And that's how history is written. And so this is kind of a small blurb in that, but it's an example of how this can all play out for Tiger. And I emphasize, I think Brandel Chamblee was completely wrong in what he said. It was the wrong thing to say. The insinuation was incorrect. I think it's a misuse of the word cheat to understand what Chamblee's trying to say. But the guy shouldn't lose his job. The guy made a mistake. Yes, a very well thought out mistake, because the guy is smart. Chamblee is a smart man. He's well researched, he's well read, and he knows a lot of big words. He just didn't see the word cavalier on a University of Virginia promo and decide, hey, that might be a great word to use in an upcoming column about Tiger Woods. He went to his dictionary, and he went to his thesaurus, and he looked up the word cavalier just to make sure what exactly he was saying by using that word, as opposed to, you're a cheater, Tiger. It was a nuanced way of trying to explain how he feels about Tiger, but it was as transparent as conceivably possible that he meant Tiger Woods was a cheater, because he used the word I earned it honestly. And that means Tiger didn't, by comparison, right? So, again, I don't think that even a premeditated big mistake like the one Chamblee made should result in him losing his job, for the same reason that Tiger Woods shouldn't be labeled a cheater after 3 rules incidents with penalties and another in 1 year after a career of over 300 PGA Tour starts without one similar style incident. All of a sudden to be labeled a cheater after having one really bad, bizarre year with the rules doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because we haven't talked about Woods being a cheater in the past in any kind of serious fashion. So why all of a sudden would a strange set of circumstances and coincidences, really, lead us to believe that all of a sudden the guy